What's up, everybody? This is gonna be a short edition of Frosty Friday. It's the birthday edition. So I say it's gonna be short because I already have a pre-recorded session um, already done with Amanda from Great Beer Adventure. So after this short little intro, I'm gonna go ahead and post this intro with the full version with Amanda from Great Beer Adventure. Thank you, Carnes. Carnes says happy birthday. The reason I made the intro post is kind of to let you know. So obviously, it wouldn't be Frosty Friday without drinking a frosty beverage. So this week is Payne Pills. It's a Zwickel Pilsner limited release out of Texas Ale Project. They make a lot of amazing things. What is it? 1,000 Singing Angels, Fire Ant Funeral, just great brews all around at Texas Ale Project. There's a few, I think they have one or two maybe that I don't like, but other than that, man, they make a really solid beer. This is an unfiltered Czech style lager. It's a little mixed reviews on Untapped, but overall, I believe it's a solid beer. So that's what I chose to drink on my birthday, on the birthday edition of Frosty Friday. Cheers. It's a little bitter. Imagine. So the only thing I can really compare it to is kind of an IPA, just because of the bitterness. So it's a little up there on the hoppiness, the bitter scale. But again, IPAs are my favorite. One of my favorite. I mean, I think all of them are my favorite, but in the top three of brew styles. So this one lands really well with me. So on the Great Beer Adventure interview with Amanda, you're going to see kind of her top 5 songs, how they relate to her life, and she chose to go an awesomely interesting route, and where she grouped the songs by different points in her life. So yeah, we had a really good conversation. It was definitely like 2 to 4 weeks possibly in the making. So yeah, I apologize for that, because this was supposed to happen, and that's why this is titled episode 5, even though we're on episode like 8. Just because I really wanted to get her in there, and I definitely owed it to her to get her on the show. So yeah, after this brief intro, once you watch the YouTube version, it's going to have the full interview with me and Amanda. But it did not have my top 5 songs in relation to her top 5 list. So with that, before we start into hers, so on my top 5, or it's not a top 5 really, it's just a list of 5 songs that I guess impacted sort of your life. And the number one I have is Exodus by Bob Marley. Totally remember driving around with my dad in his 79 Buick LeSabre. Really weird corduroy seats and some sheepskin stuff on the back seat. That was totally off the Amazon, or not the Amazon, the AutoZone aisle. And just to let you know and set it up, my dad was the one to have the beaded seat covers in one of his cars, at least. So just imagine how that looks. What's going on, Sam? Thanks for joining. So the next song on my list is another Marley song. It's Three Little Birds. So this one, I've always liked this song, but then I saw what's the I can't remember what's the movie with Will Smith where it's like just pretty much him by himself and the zombie crazy diseased people. Like Bob Marley was one of those things that got him through, right? Through these crazy times where he's by himself, and he's totally shocked when these people he finds don't know who Bob Marley is, and he's singing the little Three Little Birds song to him, which is I think it's hilarious. So I've always liked this song, but then seeing Will Smith in that movie and just the hilarious moment Yeah, this is definitely in my top 5 list. What's going on, Tyra? I Am Legend. Thank you, Carnes, the movie buff. Thank you. Yeah, so I Am Legend, Three Little Birds. If you haven't seen I Am Legend, go watch it, and you will understand what I'm talking about. My next song on the list is Where the Party At by Jagged Edge and Nelly. Just because when this song came out, it was an interesting time in music. And I think it's where, to me, music style started blending, right? To where there were multiple different styles of music that were getting played, and different people were getting into sort of, I guess, the crossover era, right? So different people, all cultures and communities, were sort of getting into like hip hop, and then I think NSYNC was still relevant at some point when this song came out. Thank you for the birthday wishes, Tyra. And I'm gonna stop there and go ahead and thank everybody for the birthday wishes. It's been a huge outpour of love on my personal page. So yeah, thank you for that. And to officially announce that May 20th, I have a show at Intrinsic Barbecue Smokehouse and Brewery in downtown Garland. So we have elected to make that the birthday celebration, the birthday bash, so to speak. Even though it's not necessarily really a bash because it's family friendly, I would say it's still a bash. So it's family friendly. It's during the day. You could totally come out, hang out with the fam, eat some amazing food. I haven't talked about the nachos enough. I probably have. And it's one of those things to where I would cry if they took the nachos off the menu. But yeah, so I play from noon to 3 actually. And it'll be a good time. So I have actually Jeff Widman, a good buddy of mine, who's going to do some filler stuff while I take a break during some of those sets. There's going to be times where we're both on stage together, which it's been a long time since me and Jeff have done anything together on stage. And I've known Jeff for so long, man. Like old school nights at doing open mic nights, actually at O'Reilly's. Yeah, and O'Reilly's, shout out to O'Reilly's in Dallas. But yeah, so Saturday, May 20th, from noon to 3. Let's just call it Quincy Forte and Friends celebration. What's up, Rada? Just so you know, Texas Ale Project, Payne Pills, really great beer. You probably had it, but it's awesome. So yeah, back to time in your life, right? So where the party at, people are meshing, different genres are different people are getting into different genres. So yeah, that's the next one on my list. And then interestingly enough, you're gonna laugh at me for this one, but there was a guilty pleasure on Amanda's list too, from Great Beer Adventure. So once you see the full interview, you'll understand. Cheers. So this song is Penny and Me by Hanson. Yeah, I know, but it kind of showed a maturity, right? So a maturity in their music, and just and themselves, sort of. And so if you've never heard Penny and Me by Hanson, I suggest you listen to the Frosty Friday episode 5 playlist, which will be posted on QuincyForteMusic.com / The Ramblings. It's the Ramblings of a Madman blog. So yeah. It's just a great song, man. It's just the chorus is Penny and Me like to roll the windows down, turn the radio up and push the pedal to the ground. So this is I don't even remember when this song came out, but I definitely know that it's a pretty catchy song. I don't even know anything else off of this album, but I know that this song was impactful enough for me to attach myself to. Yeah, and then the next song on my list is actually Learning to Breathe by Switchfoot. The only reason I know this song is because it was on a sampler, like a Christian music sampler, when I was at Stephen F. Austin for the brief abbreviated period that I was there. Um, but this song definitely, man, it's one of those ones that I always had to. What's up, Dad? And it looks like Ash is on. What's up, babe? But yeah, so this is definitely one of those songs that, man, I had to. I didn't know a lot about Switchfoot at the time. I knew, the main, Audio Adrenaline, DC Talk, and Newsboys. So there's just the main few people, right? And yeah, I was totally dead asleep like 30 minutes ago. But yeah, so and then I found Switchfoot on this sampler CD, and it just totally opened my eyes to a bunch of the different other bands that were out there in the Christian realm, as far as like Project 86, sort of like hardcore, harder bands and stuff like that, and just different styles. And so learning to breathe is it opened my eyes during my abbreviated time again at Stephen F. Austin, but at the same time, it's just an impactful song, because it's not like you have to necessarily learn to breathe, right? But it's talking about realizing all the things in your life that you sort of took for granted, that you didn't really understand. And so, yeah, this was definitely about me finding myself sort of in my first time away from home and things of that nature. So yeah, and then Pantala Nagapampa, Rapunzel, from Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews was hugely instrumental in the shaping of who I am as a musician. So, and this is just a feel good song, man. It's if you've never heard the song, again, I encourage you to listen to Frosty Friday episode 5 playlist on Spotify. That will be up on my site. But yeah, this is just it's a song where you can't help but sort of tap your feet, even if you don't really like Dave Matthews. It's one of those songs that I think you can totally get into, because it has a specific rhythm that you again can't just help but get into. And I can't remember the first live video that I watched of Dave Matthews playing this song live, but man, just the energy from everybody in the band during the song, and in the crowd, like everybody just, man, it's magical. So if you've never heard the song, I encourage you to listen to the live version, and probably go see Dave in concert. The guy's still touring, so that's awesome. Enjoy the interview with Amanda from Great Beer Venture. Y'all have a good night. Awesome. So, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Frosty Friday. I'm joined here with Amanda from the Great Beer Adventure. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing terrific. We're recording this at almost lunchtime, and I was considering bringing a beer to the table, but I brought water instead. I thought I still have a lot to do today.
I would have been so jealous had you totally brought beer.
Yeah, I was like, coffee beer is almost a breakfast food, and it definitely qualifies as lunch, but it's still a work day, so I'll have to hold off on my breakfast beers until this weekend.
So funny story. We actually get to drink beer at work on Fridays, hence the Frosty Friday thing. Um,
Nice.
so I had been sending pictures. I'm in a chat group with some fantasy football cohorts, and so I'd been sending pictures of beers to them on Friday, um, and they totally do not think it's hilarious that I'm sending them, "Hey, I'm drinking beer at like 1 o'clock on a Friday. How's it going with your work?" So
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna make it till 5. That's that's a given. But, 11:30, it's a little early here for me. Gotta get a couple things done first.
I totally understand. Productive member of society.
Mhm.
So why don't we just jump right in? So the premise of Frosty Friday is that we're trying to pair music with craft beer, right? Or just beer in general. And so I've asked you to prepare a list of tunes to add to the Spotify playlist. So how about we go over your list?
Perfect. Yeah, so the way that I kind of put my list together was to summarize my life in music. Um, I basically live a musical all the time, so there's always music going on. Uh, at the as a mom, I'm a mom of two little kids. I've got a 3-year-old and an almost 6-year-old, and you know, just like changing diapers, like we're changing diapers now, and quite literally, um, our entire life is a musical. So
Right.
I brought. I thought about my life if I was going to make it into a musical, and what would the top 5 songs be, time
Right.
period wise. Um, And I think that I could definitely put some beers with it now. My first song on the list is Boondocks by Little Big Town. And now that's from a time period in my life where I couldn't drink because I wasn't old enough to.
Right.
I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Maine, and my closest neighbors were quite literally cows and buffaloes. And, there was actually, um growing up, I lived down this really long dirt road that I had to walk to the bus in the morning, and, um, no lights. People wouldn't pay for street lights out there because it was just, like, our house, and they're like, "We're not gonna pay that much money for you guys to have a street light." And so, it would be dark when I had to walk to the bus because it was, like, an hour bus ride in, and, I would come home at night and I would see, like, when it's light out, I would see, like, big, huge, giant tracks in the dirt road of moose and bear and deer, and I was scared because how do you know, like,
Right.
without a street light, what's out there with you in the morning in the pitch black? And so my dad, he was like, "I got you covered," and he got me a flashlight. I was
To
like,
fight off moose.
yeah, I was like, "I don't know what this is supposed to do, but thank you." And so I would keep going back to him and telling him that, like, I'm still scared, and so the flashlight got bigger and bigger and bigger. By the time it was done, the battery was, like, this big with, like, the light bulb on the end, and, yeah, it was very country living in boondocks. That would definitely be, like, a PBR, Bud Light type of song, you
I
know?
totally agree.
Yeah.
And y'all don't have do y'all have Pabst Blue Ribbon up there?
Yeah, PBR.
Yeah. Oh, that. Well, yeah. Ignore me.
It's
I
okay.
haven't had coffee or beer today, so.
Yeah. One of the songs, like when I was putting it together, some of the songs actually talk about like I think it was Chattahoochee, a
Yeah.
pyramid of cans in the pale moonlight. Like that's pretty much country living right there. Yeah,
$15 for a case of beer.
exactly, exactly, and that's the fancy stuff. Um, yeah, I think that definitely would be that time period. But in the end, no moose ever attacked me on that road, and I never actually saw one there.
Right.
I have seen a moose very close. It was not that story. No moose has attacked me, but it came close. So yeah, that's a different story though. But that's Maine life, I guess. But I guess I was supposed to just chuck the flashlight at the moose if it came at me, just like
I still don't.
chuck it and run.
I still don't think that would have been effective.
I
But
doubt it. I doubt it, but that's all I've come up with in 35 years, of living. That's the only logic I see to his logic. I mean, like, just chuck it and run. And I don't know.
that's awesome. Um, yeah, so I was actually introduced to the song recently, and it's just because I've been jamming with a few people and like the harmonies, like the so I'm kind of a fan of the song. I don't even listen to like country-ish music,
Hmm.
but I'm definitely a fan of this song for sure.
Yeah, there's a part in there where it talks about fishing for crawfish.
Yeah,
And that actually there's a children's song too that has like that same little bit, and I like the songs that play with the different sounds within one song.
right.
And I find a lot of the newer country songs actually do that. they'll have their very country twangy beat, but then they'll change it up, and I don't want to say they'll rap, but some of them like try to like talk sing.
Right, right, right.
But I really enjoy like the dichotomy between the two um harmonies, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess. Yeah. And I like how people can play around with that.
Nice. So this next song, I I I was very confused by, so I would love to hear your story. Run us through this next song.
Okay. So the next stage in my life is when I leave the place with no streetlights and move a little less country. And still in Maine. I've only spent 6 months not in Maine my entire life. Um, so it's basically like country bumpkin through and through. And now I live in the great big city of Portland. But before I got to Portland, I actually went to college in Standish, and we had streetlights and whatever. I went to St. Joseph's College of Maine,
Okay.
not the famous one, the not famous one. Um, and it's kind of where I really got into like learning who I was, and I love the old-timey feel of this next song, which is The Lady is a Vamp by Spice Girls. So Spice Girls and all those like girl boppy, Britney, Christina, all all of those like those folks they were a huge part of college,
Right,
you're living with a bunch of girls, you turn on some girly music and you bust a move. So obviously somebody had to represent that. And quite often to this day, I actually get really nervous when I go out and go to events and stuff, which is really crazy if you know me, because that doesn't seem quite like how I am, because I just go and I'm just on. But I get
right,
really nervous before I get there. And so I have like all these like old school rap and Spice Girls and all this stuff that I just crank up on the way. And Wannabe by them is one that I actually go to quite often, because it's just like, it's fast paced, and it's just a lot of fun to dance to. But I chose The Lady is a Vamp because even though even though it has nothing to do with like the 40s, 50s, that kind of era, it really reminds me of you know, the what's the name? The girls with like the dresses that had all the fringe all over it. It
right.
reminds me of like that time period. And I really am huge into the retro vintage historic fashion era type of thing. I don't know. See,
Gotcha.
I rock the like fake pompadour type of hairdo all the time. I'm a mix
I
of crazy things.
it's good to be different. It's good to be diverse. So I'm cool with that because going into this next song, and it's somebody that I definitely relate to. Yeah, tell us about the next song on your list.
Okay. So, I love Johnny Cash. Like big time, huge fan. I mean, next to me, I've got the House of Cash book, and I love looking at it. There's posters. They're framed posters all over my house, and framed album art, and they're slowly being taken down, and like kids art is taking the place. So I'm embracing like this mumminess of me, but it's a long process. There's a lot of Cash to come off the walls. But I love Johnny Cash so much that I actually when I got married, I quoted Johnny Cash lyrics to my husband.
That is amazing.
So we wrote our own vows, and in mine, I told him that if he was a carpenter and I was a lady, I would marry him anyway. And if he gave me, I'm gonna mess it up the lyrics, but um, if he gave me all of his love, I'd give him all of my tomorrows. Um,
Nice.
there's something like that. So Johnny Cash has been huge. He reminds me of my dad. He's a he's got that grumpy Gus face, just like my
Right.
dad. And so it's kind of nice. Now, Ring of Fire, um, I chose specifically. There are so many songs. Like each person in my life has their own song. Um, So the song that I love, Hurt, his rendition of Hurt that he did, that is
Yeah.
wonderful. I love Bridge Over Troubled Water. That was actually, I was having like a hard pregnancy day, and that came on the radio, and I was just like, oh, my dad. And then like a dog of mine had like these stripes, so his is always like stripes around your shoulders, all these different songs. But I chose for my playlist Ring of Fire. And the reason that I did is actually this time period is all the love that is, my husband and my kids, and
Right.
this this time of my life where, I'm not just focusing on who I am and like knowing myself like style wise, but really like learning to love and being part of that. And Ring of Fire to me, it's got some really great lyrics in it, but also I slow it down quite a bit and I sing it as a lullaby to my kids. And we've got some great videos. We got a guitar for my daughter and the older one, and we have great videos of her when she's younger, and she's like putting it on the floor, strumming along, going burn, 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 and it's really big, and it's on one of the CDs that we own. It's number 8, and I know that because we would have to play track 8, over and over and over again on some car rides because they just weren't really like babies that enjoyed cars. So it would just be like,
Right.
it'd come to the end, and you're like, oh, back to 8, oh, back to 8, and you would try to like, and they would be great, and they would listen to the whole song, and then you're like, let's just see, and push it into 9. Nah, dang it, back to 8. Um, so yeah, Ring of Fire really symbolizes all of that love and marriage and babies and everything for me.
Awesome. So then, how do you go from Ring of Fire to Pat Carroll? Like, what transition happened in your life that you go from Ring of Fire to Pat Carroll?
I have 2 little girls and they're getting older. So Pat Carroll sings Poor Unfortunate Soul by the like in the Little Mermaid. And so part of the whole style and figuring out who you are, I am not a minivan driver. I'm not. That is not part of the person that I envision myself as. Trucks, great. SUVs, great. Something cute, little sporty. Okay, that's all right. I need a little bit more space because I got to move things all the time.
Right.
But then I had a vehicle that like shut down on the highway one time, and they're like, "Oh, it's a drop of water in your gas tank." I was like, "My dad was a mechanic. That sounds false."
Right.
And so I had to get another vehicle, and the only thing with the cargo space that made sense for my family was a minivan. And it's this big white round. Everybody that sees it says, "Oh, but that's a cool minivan." Okay, first off, that's an oxymoron. You can't have a cool minivan. That's not a thing. So, it's big, it's bulbous, it's evil. You know, I call it Ursula. So we definitely had to get the soundtrack to The Little Mermaid to play, and we listened to them all. But my daughter has become Ariel, very, very much so. She's always kind of had that fish in her.
Yeah.
Um, and she actually taught herself to swim just recently. It was amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
like she's like, we went on vacation and she did not know how to swim. Like she could kind of like doggy paddle, like for a second. But
Right.
she like taught herself how to do flips underwater. I'm just like, oh my goodness, you are amazing. But that's here nor there. I'm just a proud mom moment.
Right. Right. Right.
Good job. Um,
My
so
kid's the smartest in the world. No.
she's pretty smart. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't say the smartest in the world. She's not some kind of little prodigy. That would just make my life crazy. Um, but she very much, and she'll act out the pieces in the Ariel. So Poor Unfortunate Soul comes on. I don't know if you've been able to tell, I'm a little dramatic myself, and
Right.
so I'll just start singing it to her, and she'll like act it out, like, oh, don't take my voice, no, and like, and so we've got this whole thing going on, and we really do a lot of play acting and dancing, and we now have Alexa, and we just like yell at Alexa to start playing us music, and we just like dance throughout the entire kitchen. It's amazing. And so lots of Disney and Johnny Cash fill my life at this point in time.
Nice.
And if I
Um,
was going to pair that with a beer, it'd be something dark and inky, a little salty, like a seaweed stout of some sort, or an oyster stout.
do those exist?
Yes.
Oh, we totally don't get those in Texas. I need
Yeah.
to try one of these.
Yeah, so oyster stouts are actually something that are quite common. Seaweed stouts are a little bit more hard to come by, but the oyster stouts are a thing, like a real deal thing.
In Texas, we get bourbon barrel aged, so like that's we don't really get a much oyster or seaweed stout. So I have to seek this out
Go
just so I
find
can
the
taste it.
oyster stout's gonna be good, like easy to find, if you're in the right part of the country. But the seaweed stout, they're more like one-offs and people playing with things and seeing what they can do.
Interesting. You just blew my mind. Uh, so, tell us about the transition to this next song.
Okay, so I listen to every single word in every single song ever and decide if I, one, like them, if I, and so I I dedicate songs all the time to my husband. I was just like, just recently, I was like, hey, honey, I need you to listen to this one stanza in this song, and then this other one piece of this song, and then you just listen to it and listen to the words. And so he never like, and I will just like send like YouTube clips to him. I'm just like, here, and he very rarely reciprocates because you know, guys, sorry. um
Right, you're
Right.
right.
Right. So currently I'm back into like women music. I'm really into like the moody women like Lord and I don't know. There's I listen to Lord radio all the time on Pandora. I also really like Lennon and Maisie. They're not quite as moody, but they're still like girl power.
Right.
And but Ellie Goulding, my husband, one day actually sent me a YouTube clip, and it was Ellie Goulding's "Powerful," and he's like, "Here you go. This is what I think," and sent it, and I was just like, "All right, okay, I'm
You
gonna
were
hold,
listening all these years.
yeah, I'm gonna hold on to this, and in 5 years I'll expect another one."
Right.
Yeah,
It's all good. Awesome.
yeah.
And then we were totally gonna wrap it up with your last song. I actually listened to this song and I totally think it's a good bookend as to like an evolution sort of thing of you. So tell us a little bit about this last song.
Okay. So my bonus song, because I could never, ever, ever follow directions, um, is Johnny and June by Heidi Newfield. I'm gonna get a little cheesy here. Uh, all my life up until I met my husband, I really fought, and I'm still fighting with depression and loneliness and um, everything. And then I met him, and it he was not even a little bit what I thought I was looking for, um, but he really did in the most cheesiest and amazing way ever completed me. I feel like I was broken, and slowly but surely I'm finding all these pieces of myself, and he's definitely one of them, and my children are each one of them. Um and I just absolutely, I don't know, I feel so tied to him. And Johnny and June, their story about how, they came together and they fought each other and then they came together more, and the whole thing just really speaks to me. And it actually was our song at our wedding. Um, and it kind of still is whenever I need to have like a nostalgic moment, and
Right.
I pop it on YouTube, and I'm just like, oh yes, this is us. And a friend of mine actually took some one of the lyrics out of it and, very nicely put it in calligraphy and it hangs in our bedroom. And yeah, it's a little bit country. Okay, it's a lot country. It but it definitely it symbolizes love and how powerful it can be. And I think that, love is not necessarily an end all be all, but it definitely helps make things just a little bit better. And the beer that I would pair with that is any beer that I'm having with my husband.
Oh, now that is a great way to end this. Like, look at that. Now I got to go cry in the bedroom.
Okay, so we need a moment.
That's awesome.
I'm a big cheese ball, but you know what? I'm not. That's okay. That's just me.
And then I like how you strung everything together. Like that's so amazing. So
Listen, I'm telling you, it's a musical.
well, when you write this musical out one day and it becomes the story of your life, I would definitely love to see it. I
See,
would pay to see it.
awesome. Everybody talks about, their memoirs, their book that they're going to write. Nah, I'm going to Broadway. I'm going to make a musical.
People are like, who is Amanda? I don't even know this person. What?
Yeah. Wait, what are these songs?
Aren't they in other musicals already? Or like, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank
I,
you.
it's been awesome talking to you over the past few weeks trying to get this thing nailed down. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And if anybody would like to hear more of my craziness,
Yes,
please come and find me at greatbeeradventure.com.
nice. And I will tell you, and I will co-sign that I actually do listen. I had messaged you about a rant you did on IPAs, and you're like, "What? I did a rant?"
Yeah, well, it sounds right though. Like, yeah, it was less on IPAs and more on people who don't like IPAs, so they drink them and then, yeah, and then say, "Oh, this is gross. It tastes like hops." Well, no crap. Like obviously. So yeah, and I talk about a lot of things, and I luckily there's recorded instances of it because I don't necessarily remember everything.
This is awesome. Yeah, so if you want to hear more from Amanda, thegreatbeeradventure.com.
Just
Uh,
Great Beer Adventure.
Great Beer Adventure. I always
Great.
want to put D in front of
I
stuff.
know, but see, I know, and it makes sense, but my Great Beer Adventure is not the only Great Beer Adventure. Like,
Uh,
you can go have your Great Beer Adventure. So I
yes.
don't want to be like, no, this is the Great Beer Adventure. No, this is my story that I invite everybody else to come on and be part of it. So greatbeeradventure.com.
That is so amazing. And on that note, we're going to end. Thank you so much, Amanda, for your time.
Thank you.